How's it going, everybody? This is Siri here, and today I'm going to show you what defenses I'll be using this upcoming week for Cosmic Crucible. Now, I know I go quite turtle more than a lot of other people do, but that's been working for me because I can usually drop about 4, maybe 5 matches and still get the victory off of this. And I really drain my opponent's resources to where they end up making a major mistake, maybe not full clearing me. This past week, I did end up going 2-1, and it came down to efficiency on that 3rd round matchup. Now, I'm not just going to show my own defense, I'm going to show a few other options that you can end up doing here as well. So let's go ahead and get started on this. For stage 1, I'm going to end up using my Orcus team in here. The reason I like the Orcus team here is because they are fast, but they also let the other team usually get a few turns in to where I start stacking up the vulnerable, then I hit them back really hard and can really devastate my opponent. Now, this has been beating the new warriors in here as well. I know some people usually go with the new warriors as the counter. The thing is, the Orcus team scales so well that the new warriors can struggle against this, causing it to where it's going to have to be a follow-up attack, or they back out and try again with a different team, and usually over-invest into that. That's why I really like the Orcus team on defense right now. As far as the ISOs go, I like Healer 3 Purple on the Scientist Supreme. If they try to bring Cabal in here as the counter, she's going to ult turn 1, and that's going to cause it to where all the vulnerables get cleared off, and it really hampers the counter with the Cabal team to where that can actually fail as well. I do like the Omega Sentinel and Nimrod as a Raider. I like the Lady Deathstrike and the Sentinel as a Striker. So let's go ahead and check out another option that you can end up using in here. The Night Stalkers is another really good option that you can end up using in here. Now, you don't have to use the Moon Knight. If you want, you can actually sub him out, throw in a different character such as Morgan Le Fay, who has really good synergy with the Agatha Harkness in here. Another option I've seen is using a Super Scroll, and that's going to make it to where they're going to have to use their Cabal to really get the counter on here. So you're pulling more away from your opponent by actually subbing in a higher value character than Moon Knight. Now, don't sleep on Moon Knight. He is actually a really good character to where if he gets his turn off and he ult on you and he doesn't have that blind, he could basically wipe out the entire team, and then that's going to have to come in for a follow-up attack as well. So Night Stalkers is another really good option. However, I've been using Night Stalkers on offense the round 2 and 3, I believe, and they're actually a really good offensive weapon for you this season. So do kind of weigh your options if that is something that you want to do. For stage 2, I'm going to end up keeping my Out of Time team in here. Now, there are different options that you could end up using with this, such as subbing out like Starbrand and maybe adding in Quicksilver, so that way they kind of get the additional turns in there, or maybe throwing in like a Dorm. There's a lot of different mix and matches that you could end up doing with this. I've just been doing the straight Out of Time team. I wanted to put the Black Knight somewhere to where it's going to try to suck efficiency out, and maybe my opponent will slip up, causing me to get a kind of a weird victory out of it in a way. Now, previously I did end up using Black Knight in a different room, but I kind of was able to finagle it to where I had 2 strong rooms, and Black Knight by himself can pull victory points for me. So that's why I ended up going with the full Out of Time team here. Another team that actually does pretty well in stage 2 is going to end up being the Annihilators, and you could throw Dorm in here or keep Silver Surfer in here if you would like. I do like the Dorm aspect to kind of sucking more efficiency out of your opponent. The Annihilators is a huge efficiency sink, and having it to where they have that revive once, or the opponent has to pull away a North Star or a Black Cat, is a victory for you. So even though it's still the same counter, just throwing that in there, it means they can't use their Secret Defenders efficiently, or they can't use their Alpha Flight team if they need to use that in stage 3. So that's why I like throwing that Dorm in there. It's a nice little curveball that can really mess with your opponent. Otherwise, if they want to go straight marks for money like usually people end up doing, it's just going to suck more efficiency out of the way, causing it to where you can actually win due to the efficiency sink on that. For stage 3, I actually like this team matchup. This is something that I ran across previously. I believe it was last week, round 1. It might have been like late the first week of it, but it's Alpha Flight and Void Knight. This can really throw a curveball into your opponent. I initially tried using just the Alpha Flight team and throw an Ares in there to try to get rid of the safeguard, the Void Knight does end up going first still. So you need to throw a character in here that's going to end up stopping the speed up. That would be somebody like a Spider-Man Pavitra or a Black Cat. So it really is going to drain your opponent away. Now, if they do have a Spider Society on offense, that will end up beating this, which is perfectly fine. That is a risk that I'm willing to take personally, because I like my Spider Society on offense now. If you saw my round 3 matchup, Spider Society is able to beat Spider Society Mephisto in stage 3, no sacks on a one-shot. It was pretty crazy, so make sure to check that one out as well. Another option that you can end up doing in here is going to be that Spider Society Mephisto team. I just think they kind of dropped a few ranks due to knowing that Spider Society can one-shot this without any sacks. If your opponent does have Spider Society on defense as well, then that means that they will either need to go with like the 2 burn method, or maybe trying to use like a Odin comp in here, which is still pretty good. I just find more value in keeping Spider Society for offense now and moving Mephisto to another room where they do have to keep doing that double sack method, which is why I kind of went away from this one. Another one that's kind of been making its rounds has been the Night Stalkers with Mephisto. This is another really strong team. I know that the Spider Society can beat the Night Stalkers team. I am curious if the Spider Society can one-shot this one as well. I think they might be able to do it, but I think this is actually a really strong one. The speed that the Man-Thing gives makes it to where it's really hard to counter the innate speed that the Night Stalkers has now. Put in the safeguard and everything on due to the Mephisto buffs, the battlefield effect. This is actually a really good one as well. So this is a third option that you could end up doing. As you notice, I do have Mephistos showing as options now. There's about 15,000 Mephistos in game. If you don't have Mephisto yet, just go with the full team. So the full Spider Society or the full Night Stalkers, or doing the initial one that I showed, which was the Alpha Flight with Void Knight. That's another really good team that you could throw in stage 3. For stage 4, I'm going to end up sticking with my Odinati team. The Illuminati with Odin is a force to be reckoned with, and making it to where they either have to do the double sack and try to get it on the 3rd hit, or trying to mirror it, which does end up failing at times too. It's a very big brick wall that my opponent has to try to face. Considering I also have Mephisto on defense, they have to pick and choose where they want to use their Odin. Do they want to try to use that to counter the Mephisto on my defense, or try to counter this? So it really makes it to where my opponent has to think and choose wisely of where their attacks are going, which is why I've been really liking this defense lately. Another good option that you could end up using for stage 4 is going to be the Night Stalkers team. The way that this team functions, where they have a lot of ultimates on turn 1 to really spread out the blinds, and your opponent has to try to deal with that when they're trying to counter this, works very well. Now, the Moon Knight can be subbed out again just like before. If you want, you can take him out, throw in Morgan Le Fay or Super Skrull, and really make it where your opponent has to do a high investment attack in here. That is another good option that you could end up doing. I just kind of prefer using this team on offense. Like I mentioned before, they're a very good offensive weapon that can take out a lot of teams this season. For stage 5, this is a team that I ran across on my round 3 matchup, and I am going to be stealing it. This was a very interesting curveball that I was not expecting. I tried using my Secret Defenders in here twice, and it really didn't work. So this is the 3-piece Extreme X-Men, adding in Rogue, and adding in Doctor Strange. Now, you do need to T4 his passive. That was a portion of the matchup that I was kind of confused about. I knew that he got the ability energy for his ultimate when somebody got killed off the very first time in the match. I just thought that it had to be an Astral ally, but it's any ally. So that really throws the monkey wrench into this team, to where if you try to kill, say, Forge, Doctor Strange is going to be able to ult and bring him back. If you try to kill Gambit or Nightcrawler, and thinking that the Forge isn't going to be ulting right away, then they have to deal with the Forge ulting. It really is a good kind of cup game, if you will, on who you need to try to target, who you need to control and take out. Now, the Superior 6 should still work as a counter in here. It's just a very risky matchup if you try to use anything else. So I will be using this one for this upcoming week. Another good team that you could end up throwing in here is going to be the 3-piece Extreme X-Men, Rogue, and Absorbing Man. Having it to where Absorbing Man spawns in and he has that safeguard taunt to try to get it to where the team can start ramping up is a pretty good option that you could end up going with. I do like the position of this where you're going to have Nightcrawler adjacent to Absorbing Man, put Gambit adjacent to the Rogue, and Forge's dead center of the field. That way you can really try to protect him. When characters start dropping lower, Rogue is going to get the taunt as well. And it's a really good mix of characters. As far as the Absorbing Man goes, mine is about 2 diamond right now. I don't know if I would advise everybody to do that. Having it where you have your Absorbing Man to spawn in with the taunt and safeguard to take the initial barrage should be good enough. I just had a lot of extra diamond credits, so I did pump mine up a little bit more. The initial defense I was using for stage 5 was this one, to where it's the 2-piece Extreme X-Men, Rogue, and the 2-piece Masters of Evil, where I have Titania and Absorbing Man on defense. The reason I like this one is because I usually was going to use Kang with my Cabal team, leaving Titania kind of out for certain matchups. By doing this, I'm able to use Nightcrawler on offense as well, who pairs very nicely with the Mercs for Money, to where you can special turn 1 and get your Old Man Logan moving a whole lot sooner. So this is a very good option if you want to go more offensive heavy. This will allow your Nightcrawler to be an offense, just stick your Kang with the ball, and you should be good to go with that matchup. For stage 6, this team here is a nightmare. So we have the 3-piece Annihilators. You are free to sub Gore out with somebody like Ultimus, and that would work perfectly fine as well. I just wanted to use Ultimus on offense for certain matchups. I know Gore is a really good offensive option too, to where you can ult and remove revive onces. If you ever see a Dorm on defense, that is always an option for you. But then adding in Super Skrull and Mephisto is just mean. It really is. Super Skrull is basically going to go very quickly because of the buffs that come in on spawn for your opponent. Then you have your Mephisto to basically require a double sack, and it's just a nightmare. There's no healing, so you have to be investing a high damage team such as the Mercs for Money with Apocalypse, and even then that's not going to be a safe bet because you need to make sure to take that Mephisto out so that way you could start reviving your characters. So this is a very turtle defense that I'm going to be using this upcoming week. Now before I went to that turtle heavy defense for the stage 6, I was using this one, and this is a very good defensive team too. We have the 3-piece Annihilators, we have Dorm to be able to give them the revives, and then we have Black Knight as well. The reason I like the Dorm here to get the revives is because when they come back, they're going to have more health, unless they bring a character in that's going to remove those revive onces, which again, that's going to pull pieces away. They need to bring in a North Star that's going to survive the opening barrage, or the Black Cat to be able to strip the revive onces off, which means they can't use Sacred Defenders elsewhere, or they have to have Gore on offense. So this is a very good defense as well. And you are throwing a little bit of all your eggs in one basket where you have the Annihilators and Black Knight together. But if you can try to fit in other defense options in your other rooms to manage this one, and you can throw in some filler teams, I think this is a really good defense that you could end up using this week. So for a quick recap, my defense is going to end up being the Orcus team in stage 1, the Out of Time in stage 2, we have the Alpha Flight with Void Knight in stage 3, Odin with Illuminati in stage 4, and the Black Bolt is definitely better because he's going to give that extra health to the Illuminati character. So just a quick reminder about that. Stage 5, we have the Extreme X-Men with Rogue and Doctor Strange. And stage 6, we have the Annihilators, Super Skrull, and Mephisto. Let me know in the comments what you plan to use for this upcoming week, or if you have any questions, make sure to join the Discord. That's going to be in the description below. And if you did enjoy this video, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, have a wonderful rest of the day.